मैं कर्नाटक की जनता को, कर्नाटक में कांग्रेस पार्टी के सब कार्यकर्ताओं को, सब नेताओं को और जो हमारे सब नेताओं ने कर्नाटक में काम किया उनको बधाई और धन्यवाद देता हूं।
Asma, to my space, even though, as you know, you've been a part of it forever. And for those who don't know, Asma is a seasoned journalist and one of the best, the very best editors you will ever find in a newsroom. And most importantly, she's a citizen who loves India passionately. And she's a keen political observer as well. She's worked for many national newspapers, and then she moved into the development sector. She has worked on ground for media advocacy and HIV-related issues, and then as an independent consultant working on issues again around HIV and livelihood projects, LGBTQ issues, women empowerment, and finally as a full-time employee with the Tamil Nadu Urban Sanitation Support Program, if I remember correctly. And she's currently editing a digital newspaper in Bangalore. And I was, in fact, very happy that she was covering the Karnataka elections by the minute, because it's always been her dream to be in the newsroom to crack election stories till the crack of dawn. And we have worked together as colleagues in the 90s, and we have been apart. But during elections, we somehow gravitate towards each other, and we are there to celebrate together, to cry together, to share a take on what went wrong and what went right. And today, Karnataka elections are over. Mr. Siddaramaiah has been sworn in as the Chief Minister, and the state party chief, D.K. Shivkumar, as his only deputy. So I wanted to ask her, what exactly was going through her mind when the counting was going on? So Asma, welcome again. और अब आपसे मैं यही जानना चाहती हूँ कि उस दिन न्यूज़रूम में माहौल कैसा था? What was the kind of atmosphere in the newsroom जिस दिन counting हो रही थी?
Okay, good evening, Reema, and it is definitely a pleasure to be here. I have followed your work as colleagues, as friends, and like you said, we have called each other on election days, we've discussed what went right, what went wrong, what could have been done, what shouldn't have been done, and what was, necessary. Like you said, I passionately love this country, and I really think that, as a country, we have a brilliant model, the idea of India that we talk about, a 1/5 of humanity, everybody as different from the next person as chalk from cheese, and still living together, celebrating together, being together, this absolute carnival of colors and festivals and foods and languages and costumes. Okay, so that is where this interview of mine is coming from, this discussion is coming from. So to answer your question, what was the feeling in the newsroom? See, the exit polls actually told us what was happening. And even before the exit polls, the kind of, let's say, the crowds that came out in support of the Bharat Jodo program, and then the communication that was going on after the program, one saw that there was a definite tilt towards the Congress. Now, here there are two things we need to remember. One is that Karnataka has never, I think for the last 18 years or so, if I remember, that has never selected any government in succession. So the anti-incumbency factor was very high. So that, so somehow that was a given that okay, this time we will choose a different government. But having said that, there was also a lot of, let's say, angst in the people. There was a lot of distrust in some quarters. There was also a kind of, desire for change. And all of this together, kind of, we saw it in the exit polls. We saw it in the way people rushed out to vote, towards the last hour of the voting day. And this was the feeling during the counting which was taking place, that everybody kind of said, okay, this is a foregone conclusion. So we knew what was going to happen. And what do you have to say about the voting patterns
because in certain sections there was, as we said, like people rushed out to vote. In certain sections, not so much. And also the demographics also chose their sides very, very clearly. So, do you have any comment on that?
See, actually, this election has been really interesting for one reason that, the traditional BJP areas, if you want to talk about them, like if you divide the state into the six regions, we talk about the Kittur Karnataka, that is the Mumbai Karnataka region. Then we have the Kalyan Karnataka, that is the Hyderabad Karnataka region. We have the coastal Karnataka. We have central Karnataka, which is Shimoga, the Malnad region, which origin, the Yediyurappa's base and where the BJP actually started. Then we have the old Mysore region, which is the Janata Dal region, and then of course Bangalore. So if you look at the voting pattern in all this, the surprises were in Mumbai, Karnataka, which actually overwhelmingly voted in favor of the Congress, and coastal Karnataka, which also voted in favor of the Congress. Kalyan Karnataka was kind of a foregone conclusion because they've always been a part, that is a Kharge's area, and that has always been a part of the Congress. But central Karnataka and Mumbai, Karnataka were the surprises. And then the old Mysore region, which is the bastion of the Janata Dal, was somehow voted in favor of the Congress. Interestingly enough, these were the areas through which the old Mysore region was the area through which the Bharat Jodo Yatra went. So wherever the Bharat Jodo Yatra went, we saw this clear shift from the Janata Dal into the Congress.
Right.
So Bangalore voted again, let's say about 50-60% Congress, 40% BJP, but that was the regular voting pattern. You have the Bangalore North and the Bangalore South with their favorites, and the central Bangalore. So there was no surprises there. But it was the Mumbai Karnataka and central Karnataka which threw up the surprises. And of course, the old Mysore region. Coastal Karnataka continues to remain with the BJP. BJP stronghold then, and it continues to be the BJP stronghold even now.
What is it that makes a voter, pro BJP? That is something that I've been trying to understand.
See, I think there are a lot of things, I mean, why would a voter choose in favor of one party or the other? For instance, when we talk about 2013, just before that, you had that India against corruption. So generally, the impression was that when we have a change, and this is what the anti-incumbency also is, which takes place when you vote out a government and an incumbent government, and you get in a new party, that you kind of are looking for a change. So 2013, with the Modi wave, there was this desire in a lot of people that kuch naya hoga. And then we were talking about development, we were talking about ease of business. I remember a lot of people talking about ease of business, ki hum log Singapore jaisa business karenge. We will be able to set up industries and, within a day or two, licenses will not be there. I mean, this license raj will end, so on and so forth. So that is one of the things. Then, of course, there is the definite Hindu wave. That is, the Hindutva, the Hindu pride, and, the consolidation of the Hindu votes. So there are two things. So people don't vote just for, one thing or the other. They kind of, let's say, it's a bouquet of issues, why you vote in a government, why you vote in a party, and why you vote out a party.
I remember the first budget that came out from this government, and I was in a newsroom at that time. I remember very clearly that a lot of builders were pitching authored articles on how the country was now going to see smart cities, and how much ease of business was going to happen, and how much more they could build, and they would transform the entire urban landscape of India. So all of this was going on, and here we are, so many years later, and so many things have kind of become more complicated in terms of why people are voting or not voting for a certain party. The reasons are becoming more and more complex.
Interestingly enough, when you talk about the builders, the Mumbai Karnataka region is one of the regions which kind of made this big shift towards the BJP, I mean, towards the Congress. Is also a region where, where we had the suicide of the contractors, and where this whole 40%, and that just before the elections, I think a couple of days before the elections, the contractors lobby came out saying that, I mean, literally, giving a fatwa saying that let's not vote for the BJP. So, probably this was the very same group which was talking about smart cities, which was talking about ease of business in 2013, which did not happen now. So, coming to, why people vote in for a particular party, vote out for a particular party. For instance, this election, there were like a lot of issues. You cannot just talk about just one single issue. For instance, there was the issue of corruption, this whole 40% thing that came out, the PCM campaign that was run by the Congress.
Right.
Then there was the issue of communalism, which was very strong, when the hijab issue, for instance, because of which a lot of girls dropped out of schools and colleges. I remember somebody putting the number at up to 70,000 girls. That, God, I think, went home with a lot of people, irrespective of religion, that, girl children were not being allowed into schools and colleges for politics. Then there was this simple thing like infrastructure, bad roads, no street lights, potholes. I think most of Bangalore was talking about that. Poor COVID handling was another issue. Yes. And then this whole general atmosphere of, unease, fear that was there. There were groups which are bringing out, if I remember, there were groups like Karnataka, which brought out a report card of the government, and they spoke about issues like, how does the government fare on women's safety, for instance, or how do they fare on, on corruption, or how do they fare on health? So different things were happening. So it was not a singular issue election. Actually, it never is. But this time, definitely, it was not a singular issue election. So if you're talking about, you voted out a party which was overtly communal, or you voted in a party which was not communal or believed to be secular, I don't think it was just that. Right. I think it was a lot of issues, and different issues spoke to different sections of people. People were just talking about price rise, and people were talking about, the price of a gas cylinder, for instance, right, so the schemes that the BJP brought in, the Ujjwala scheme, for instance, the gas cylinders, suddenly actually worked against them, worked in favor of the Congress, because once the prices went up, people saw these cylinders at home, and every time they saw it, they kind of they just decided that they would vote out a party which made it so expensive. So that was one thing.
Also, I remember my house help telling me that everybody around her neighborhood had voted for Hath, as she said, because of price rise of gas cylinders. So these small things, I think, matter, and the way, if you're able to communicate to the voter that their needs are being met and they are being seen and their needs are visibilized, then I think it makes some amount of difference.
No, when you spoke about, making it visible to the voter, that is where I think the Congress really scored this time. Because their communication campaigns were on point. They did not, mix up issues. They were talking about specific things. I mean, if they spoke about infrastructure, they spoke about infrastructure. If they spoke about corruption, they spoke about corruption. If they spoke about health and COVID handling, they spoke about that. And interestingly enough, they kept issues like the hijab, out of their communication campaign. I don't remember really seeing, maybe one or two, small tidbits here and there. But generally, they kept what people perceive as controversial issues or issues that could lose them, elections out of the equation. And they spoke about issues that matter to everybody. If you talk about price rise, for instance, religion does not come into that. Everybody is hit by that. If you talk about petrol prices, if you talk about poor infrastructure, if you talk about potholes on the roads. And I think the Congress campaign actually touched that. And that, I think, was a very, very important point. It really spoke to voters.
Yeah, but at the same time, just before the state went to vote, this whole idea of Bajrang Dal and being banned, that came in the manifesto. And I remember chatting with you, and you were a little upset that they had dropped this. They had probably dropped the ball at just when they were about to win. Why do you think they did that? Do you have any specific take on that in retrospect?
That is an issue that I'm still trying to figure out, because I do think that cost them some seats in coastal Karnataka. I have been reading people saying that was that just done to consolidate the Muslim votes? I'm not really sure, because I don't think the Muslims really had, as a demography, had too many choices. Interestingly enough, SDPI and the OIC's party did not, get any seats in Karnataka, though they were contesting. So the consolidation of the Muslim vote had already happened. So I really don't know why they did that, but it did cost them. I mean, this is my reading of the situation, but I think it did cost them a few seats in coastal Karnataka.
Do you think it was a mistake?
It was not very politically savvy, I would say.
In some, post-election analysis, I heard people saying that that was perhaps something that brought forth the absolute, meaninglessness of the BJP campaign, the way they tried to link Bajrang Dal with Bajrang Bali and the kind of hysteria they tried to, stir up. And a lot of people said that that is also something that made people realize is that the BJP didn't have any issues to really talk about or, base their campaign on. Do you agree with that?
See, as a party, the BJP, since the development, card has failed, or we have not seen too much of that happening on that front. The only thing that they actually have going is the communal politics.
Right.
So I think this is what was happening. If you remember last year around this time, there was a huge fervor, especially people were talking about Chalisa, Hanuman Chalisa, they were talking about Azan, they were talking about hijab, halal, jhatka. I mean, these were the issues that were being discussed. I think those issues somewhere faded into the background as soon as the Bharat Jodo happened. Because it's very interesting, the way the campaign was called Bharat Jodo. So everybody just came together. So anybody who was not speaking about, or speaking about issues which were singular issues or issues of one group or one community, and not necessarily the BJP, but even other parties, whether it was, any other party, SDPI, or any other party, OSC's party, or anybody else, they looked like they were out of the loop. Now the thing was to get us all united, get us together. So I think after that, BJP had not been able to recover. As a party which is ruling in the center and as an incumbent had the government in Karnataka, I think they were not able to get the plot together. Maybe they did not have too much time also because Bharat Jodo ended.
I'll come to Bharat Jodo because I know you went and you walked with Rahul Gandhi. But before I get there, I want to once again ask this question because it's been on my mind that all these polarizing campaigns that you talked to me about, which have been it's in the laboratory for a while, and they were supposed to really erupt and polarize people. Why do you think they did not have any effect on the elections? I understand the reasons that you articulated, that price rise, anti-incumbency, but is there something about the fabric of Karnataka? Is there a
I was just going to say this, I mean, this is something that I've always said, that, I will quote from the Bible here when they say that, swords will be beaten into plowshares. This is one of my favorite lines, that there is no option to people living together.
Right.
I mean, we have done it again and again. I mean, the history of mankind is about different people living together. And that is how it is done. Somebody grows a crop, somebody, builds a house, somebody lays a road, and we all live together. Koi carpenter hai, koi tailor hai, koi kuch banata hai, koi kuch aur karta hai. And we all manage to put together, a city, a village, a state. And that is how it is supposed to be. So, and what do we want to do? And when we want to do that and we just want to live, what is it that we want most? That, you do it in peace, you eat a belly full and you sleep easily without, the fear of being murdered in your beds. That's all you want. But जब situation ऐसा होता है कि आपका बच्चा स्कूल जा रहा है या कॉलेज जा रहा है और आपको पता नहीं कि वो वापस आएगा because he or she got caught in a political, mess of a hijab or a bandana, then you are scared. You don't want that. And somehow, the rejection begins in your mind there. Though, you feel very, very proud that, your child is wearing a hijab or a saffron bandana and you're asserting your identity in different ways. But somewhere, I think there is a dissonance that is already beginning in your mind.
Right.
Because there is a fear. Okay, acha, ye sab theek hai, but I want my child to come back home safe. So I think, the bottom line at the end of everything is that, people want peace.
Right.
And a full stomach. And I mean, you look at, again, I'm very, very fond of saying this, trust in history. History has shown us this, that finally, this is all people want. And no matter how much we support any group which is, let's say, insular or even going further, I would say divisive, even, I don't know, I'm not sure if I should use this word, but fascists. The fact is that at the end of the day, we just want to be happy, peaceful, calm, celebrate our festival together, have some food together. So, and finally, no matter, where we go, I think we will come back to that point. So I'm glad Karnataka did it in this election.
Yeah, I feel that 1992 and 2022 were both very momentous years for you. Would you care to share why that was so?
92, it caught me by surprise. Nothing had prepared me for it. One, I was really young, I was in college, and it was like, it was, it just, I mean, interestingly, I had not heard one communal word growing up under my parents' roof.
Right.
So I had not, I knew people prayed in different ways, but somehow, we also did, but somehow this whole thing about, being different from the other was not there. So, at best, religion just meant, कि किसके घर से कौन सा खाना आएगा, किसके घर. That was it. And that was that. You knew कि दिवाली के यहाँ से उनके, you will get laddus from this house, Christmas से यहाँ से cake आएगा, अगर ईद होगी तो you will send something. So that was it. 92 really caught me by surprise because I was not prepared for it. And I think it also caught the country by surprise. So 92 actually caught me really by surprise. And I think it really caught a whole country by surprise because we did not believe we were capable of that. So after 92, which is, I think it has been a process of, coming to terms with what has happened and gradually, I think, getting back on our feet as a nation. And we have, I would like to believe that we have seen the depths and we have reached that point, the last point. And then now I think we're just going to rise up and recover and, the idea of India is going to take off again.
2022, of course, you joined the Bharat Jodo and just share with me a little bit about what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, so, okay. Again, Bharat Jodo took me by surprise. Like you remember, I was somebody who called Rahul Gandhi a very reluctant politician. And मेरा हमेशा ये था कि okay, I have no doubts about his intelligence, I have no doubts about his learning, I have no doubt about his education, about his reading. I know he's a very erudite, intelligent man, but I'm not a leader. And I think we've had this discussion a lot of times. So, so I think and the rest of the country also, many people wanted that, okay, and then this whole Tina factor, where is the alternative? On Dhoond Rai.
Yeah, but
okay, we don't want a particular government.
I have very passionate views about that because I just think that whole Tina factor was just blown out of proportion because it was just a battle of perception where you had to dismantle one person to build up another, So
absolutely.
Yeah.
See, even there, I remember having, I don't know if this discussion was with you or somebody else, and I said, to make Batman into the hero, you need a Joker. So, the dismantling of one person and making him look incompetent, I understand that, and coming from a communications background, I know how that is done. And, I'm surprised the Congress did not catch on to that, way back in 2013. They let it pass. I firmly believe that the Congress should have got its communication together at that time and, come back strong on that particular issue at that time. Right. But having said that, 9 years have passed, 10 years have passed after that. And now we're looking at, 2022. And my first inkling that something is going to change was that speech that Rahul Gandhi gave in Parliament. I remember being very surprised and absolutely, taken up by that and saying that, when he said, I know a little bit about this country, whatever, he talked about the sacrifices his family had made and he said, I know a little bit about this country. And when he talked about India as a union of states. And so that is when I actually took him seriously, but I was not really sure whether he would kind of, step up and do the rest. So Bharat Jodo came as a huge, let's say, surprise. There was no question in my mind that I was going to walk with the Bharat Jodo because the moment it was announced, I was like, we should participate. But how I particularly, personally went to the Bharat Jodo again is very interesting because my thing was that I will go close. I did not expect it to be the movement. Like I said, it's really surprised me. I thought a few hundred people would walk with him. And so my thing was as a journalist, I would go and I would cover the whatever Bharat Jodo and just see what is happening. And that was that. And I remember just when the Kerala leg of the Yatra was getting over, and there was a conversation, I think it was on Facebook, and somebody said, the litmus test is Karnataka. And Kerala to Asan hai, the test is Karnataka. And as somebody belonging to Karnataka, that kind of really, कई वो बात चुप गई मुझे. And I remember the comment I made. I said, when he walks into my state, I will be there to welcome him. So my thinking was that I will walk with the Bharat Jodo on the first few days of, the Yatra entering Karnataka. So that is how I ended up with the Bharat Jodo. We walked for 3 days. It was an absolutely phenomenal experience. I mean, something that I will remember, till my last day. It had to be, one had to be there to see it. And this was this was the beginning phase of the Bharat Jodo. Much before, it became a more organized program, and people started coming in and participating. The celebrities came in, and the Karnataka, especially I walked on the day after the Yatra entered Karnataka. So we walked the Chamarajanagar, Mysore, Mandya belt. And this is the what I was talking about, the traditional old Mysore region, which turned the votes in favor of the Congress. So I walked in that belt, and you could see a sea of humanity. Right. I mean, there were people out on the road. There were villagers standing on either side of the road offering us, chai and guavas. And I mean, the Youth Congress also had done its bit in organized, little whatever kiosks giving people water and tea and stuff like that. But there was also this outpouring of, whatever affection. And it was very strange because you're just walking there and everybody's calling you a yatri, whether you're walking for 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days or maybe the whole length of the yatra. And they were just, everybody was with it. Everybody was with it. It was an amazing experience.
I think that's also kind of a, outpouring that you describe is also kind of a catharsis that we needed probably, because for the longest time we've not had a moment that kind of unites, and not polarize. I mean, even our cinema is being, has become a polarizing force now, which was never the case. But I think we needed this moment probably of catharsis. And we have discussed this before also, that there is a lot of cynicism, even in, liberal analysts and, people who are political observers, that, this is just something and this is not going to last forever. This momentum won't last. He's not, we shouldn't build him up to be, to a stature that he has not yet earned, which I find to be interesting. Because there's so many people in politics who obviously don't deserve to be here. And I don't know, apart from being somebody who cares about this country, is well informed, has a plan for it, has a vision for it, loves fellow Indians, what exactly do you need to be qualified as a politician,
See, aisa hota hai na, Reema, because, see, one is, like, it's been 30 years. And this country has been battered in so many ways in the last 30 years. 91 post-liberalization, the country was poised to take off in a certain direction, which did not happen. And uske baad, we have generally seen, and we have pinned our hopes on different people. It's not as if we haven't. I mean, I remember you also were a part of this, when India gets corruption. Hum dono ne fast kiya tha na, us samay. So, I mean,
I didn't fast, but I took my kid to be in one of the meetings, one of the...
Exactly. So that's what I said. I remember being a part of the relay fast, because we were all looking for this something, that ki kuch hoga. And when AAP came in, I remember, the overwhelming support that happened. People kind of, this was the same kind of support that we had seen probably, in the mid-80s when Rajiv Gandhi came in, Sam Pitroda, and people came down, the brain drain stopped. They wanted to stop the brain drain. I remember the first time I heard the term brain drain was then. And this was again what happened in AAP, that a lot of people wanted to come back and contribute and, see, all of us, wo kahin na kahin hai na, matlab that love, that, that desire to see your country do well. So, but subsequently, when people have been disillusioned in so many different ways, cynicism creeps in.
Yeah, that's true.
And let's also not forget that, the campaign that was run against Rahul Gandhi as an incompetent person, as a reluctant politician, which reluctant politician was something that I also fell for, but as somebody who will not be able to take the country along, bada anglicized hai, he does not understand this nation. Again, very interestingly, I should tell you this. One of the real surprises that I had at the Bharat Jodo throughout the campaign that I was following was the ease with which he spoke in Hindi. I mean, I made a list of the couple of words and I said, this is what he got wrong, couple of things. But otherwise, he was like, he was really on point when he was talking with such ease and comfort in a language that, a large part of this country spoke and understood. I think he endeared himself completely there. So this cynicism comes from there. That is one part. The second thing, I think, when a lot of people, I won't say a lot of people, but in some people who you assume to be rather, well-versed with the politics of this country, people who understand this country, still being cynical about this, I have a feeling that they haven't understood how deep the hurts run.
Right.
How wounded, certain groups of people have been, and how desperately in need of healing they were. If you remember, we were talking about this yesterday. So when was the last time you saw a burqa-clad woman run up to a politician and hugged? I mean, you didn't see that, and that sent a lot of healing messages. When did you see, literally, children of, workers, working class children walking along with a, top-notch politician and talking to him like an equal?
Right.
So this messaging is very important, which is what Bharat Jodo, I mean, these signals that Bharat Jodo sent. I mean, it was like, we all belong, we all, like you said right at the beginning, and I said, I mean, I'm passionately in love with this country.
Yeah.
And I believe that, we have it in us to live together. So Bharat Jodo was an expression of that for me.
What do you foresee for the next 5 years in Karnataka?
One, it is definitely not going to be easy. See, this is again two things here. One is that when you have an anti-incumbency factor, the people are very clear that you have actually, voted out a government, an incumbent government, and you've got somebody else in because you're expecting a certain kind of change. So the new government is going to be judged from day one. I mean, the euphoria is going to probably end this evening and maybe a little bit tomorrow or the weekend. And they are going to, and then people are going to start asking questions. I don't know if you've been following, but there have been a couple of instances already where people have said that they're not going to pay the electricity bill because, this, whatever, 200 units of electricity has to be provided free to every household.
Right.
So the expectations are running very high. The 5 guarantees that the government has given, or the Congress party had given in its manifesto. So people are expecting that, for instance, something like, you're talking about enabling women to travel across Karnataka, in state buses, free of cost. But that is something that is instantly measurable. Tomorrow you board a bus and if you're not able to travel free, you're already beginning to, people are already beginning to be disappointed by the government. So the Congress will have to deliver on that. And now, again, we're talking about, somebody has done the math and they have said that it is going to cost the government 50,000 crore rupees annually.
Right.
Just to implement those 5 guarantees. So where are they going to get the money from? How are they going to do it? Are they going to phase it out? Are they going to do it, So this is something that the government has to take care of.
Right.
That is the first thing. So, that is the general thing. Any new government that comes in and comes in with a lot of promises, people are going to hold you, to those promises.
Right.
Now, the other thing that you're talking about, yes, we are living in a state where governments are destabilized, where, we know the usual drill that happens, everything from all the central agencies to buying and selling of MLAs and so on and so forth. The thing that will go in favor of the Congress this time is that they have swept the elections. They're not dependent on anybody, which is what happened in the last elections. In 2018, they did not have the numbers. I think the Congress only had 80 seats in 2018, if I'm not wrong. So this 80 seats, and then they had to take the support of the Janata Dal. I think that was another which probably, and the BJP was actually the largest party with 104 seats last election. So because of that, I think I don't know, some 64 seats or something they had to take from the help that they had to take from not 64, I think 40 seats, 42 seats that they had to take from the Janata Dal. I think that's where it's easy to destabilize governments. So the thing that is going to go in Congress's favor this time is definitely going to be the fact that they have the numbers.
Right.
The other thing is also the emergence of a central leadership, which was not there in 2018. So the Congress was still floundering in 2018. But the emergence of a strong central leadership that they can actually go and, probably talk to, the state. So then I think that the fact that the Congress leader comes from Karnataka, that is also going to play a big role, that you have your person, there at the center. So all of this works in the Congress's favor, but the Congress will definitely have to tell him.
What do you think is going to happen in the? I mean, it's hard, I know, to kind of predict what is going to happen in an electoral space, but we have these impending elections coming up in the next few months. So, what do you see happening in the other states?
The Karnataka elections is definitely going to impact the other states, because states that have been sitting on, on the fence, where people, you have to understand that, some states are like very, very hardcore BJP states. Like there are some states which are really hardcore Congress states.
Right.
So I think there, it's going to be a tough fight. I don't know if any of those states are really going for polls in the next few months. But states like Madhya Pradesh, for instance, I mean, I'm not really sure how. I'll be very surprised if the Congress wins, but I'm still not reading the signals there. Rajasthan has an incumbent government, Congress government, so will and the fact that the Congress leadership is really not getting along there, is splintered. So that I think, and the anti-incumbency factor that generally rules most elections. So I really don't know how that will work.
Rajasthan also is not known to vote in the same government twice in a row.
Yeah, and also, I mean, when you have there are two things. One, when the Congress president that elections was going on and Gehlot wanted to be a candidate, and then the way he was kind of spoken to and probably made to understand that he will. I really don't know. I mean, I'm not in the Congress, so I really don't know what the discussions were. But obviously, he must have been given some assurances because of which, So, will all this play a role? We really don't know. But definitely, there is, what the Karnataka election has actually done is, apart from the fact that, it has defeated one party and brought in another party, it has also sent a message about the the invincibility of the vision.
That
message,
Yeah, the bubble has been punctured to some extent.
The bubble has. I mean, that myth that that इनको defeat नहीं कर सकते. Actually, 2-3 things that have happened in the in the Karnataka elections. When we talk about what has happened because of this this elections, of the thing that they cannot be defeated, that the fact that there is a wave जिसके सामने जो भी कर, and very importantly people have begun to talk about Karnataka as the UP of the South. कि कुछ भी हो, the Hindu vote is for the BJP. I think these myths have, and people are going back to talking about Karnataka laid back state, IT hai, kuch tourism hai, and and Karnataka is very interestingly again it's not like I think most states are not like that, but Karnataka definitely does not have a very singular kind of geography or even traditions. So you have Kodagu, which has its own tradition. You have the Mysore, which has its own tradition. North Karnataka has their own dialect. Somebody else has their own food. So people are starting to celebrate that. So this whole what do you say, एक monolith, एक organization है, एक monopoly है, that I think has broken, and also, definitely the invincibility of the BJP is that bubble has burst.
Yeah, there's very interesting thing I heard a news anchor, not a news anchor, an independent journalist saying in one of the post-election shows कि किसी भी state की जहाँ आप अगर उसकी अस्मिता को, which is like federalism को, उसको अगर आप चोट पहुंचाओगे, people will not like it. What they've done in Maharashtra, for instance, or what they try to pit Nandini against Amul, तो ये सब चीजें, like you said, वो चलती नहीं है कि एक ऐसी जगह पे जहां पर despite the diversity there is a certain idea of Karnataka, there is a certain asmita,
yes,
there is a certain sense of who we are. And yes, we are Indians, but also there is a certain sense of a very unique, individual, diverse identity, which should not be messed with, which I don't think this government understands, that you can't use the same formula in every state. It won't work.
Definitely not. No, you see, this important thing here, this is when, when Rahul Gandhi spoke about, I think it was in February last year, 2022, when he spoke about the union of states. And this is what, this actually, the idea of India is very much, in consonance with this idea, with this union of states.
Right.
We are different, we are together.
Yeah.
So it's like we are diverse, and that is what makes us, that is, I remember there was a campaign that was done again, I think, in this election. They said unity, not uniformity. So that is what we are. So just Asmita ki baat kar rahe ho na, that is in so many ways. I mean, even within the state itself, you have a different kind of, let's say, a pride which is there in North Karnataka, a different kind of pride that is there in coastal Karnataka, that is there in the old Mysore state, where jahan pe Wadeyars ka Raj tha. You have a different kind of pride in Bangalore, which was a part of the Madras presidency. So, I mean, everybody has, and this is something that we need to celebrate. This is what makes a state and the country, I mean, so rich, so diverse, so immensely, let's say, powerful, because we have something which very few, like, countries have.
No country.
No countries, definitely. But, I mean, when people say compare India to Europe, and I say, no, even Europe is very, in that sense, quite flat. मतलब एक ही religion है, most way of dressing, languages अलग होंगे, maybe the cuisine may be different, but generally,
not as interesting or diverse.
But here, you just walk into the next, whatever, 20 kilometers down, and you find, I mean, in the same street, you find different kinds of people, but, you find everything is so diverse, it's so powerful, it's so rich. It's a pity that if we cannot celebrate that. I mean, I would think we would be poorer if we don't celebrate that. Because that is where our strength comes from.
Yeah. And also what I found interesting in this election was the approach of the Congress was to kind of, we've talked about visibilization earlier, and also to visibilize the poor and the marginalized and their needs. And this at a time when the poor voter has been completely ignored in the discourse about electoral power. And like we were discussing a few days earlier, that the biggest majority in this country is not religious. It's that of the poor. They are the ones who finally make or break governments when they decide to vote for or against someone, or a party. Do you think this factor of the common people, the so-called common people, who are actually the backbone of this country, is their vote is going to define what happens in 2024?
See, again, like I really, I'm a student of history. That's what I like to call myself. So yes, every election, every government, every churning, it is the poor that are going to make the difference. And I mean, anywhere in the world, it is not just in India. It's not just हमारे general elections में या हमारे state elections में, because finally that is the majority. अगर आप मतलब you talk about anything. You talk about the Russian Revolution. You talk about the French Revolution. You talk about anything. You talk about Latin America. The fact is, the poor are the ones who are going to be this decisive force which is going to change, make or break things. Now, interestingly enough, in 2013, ये जो मोदी का wave चला था, if you remember the television ads during those days, we still had a lot of characters representing the poor. मतलब कोई villager है, somebody's breaking stones, somebody's fetching water, and they all were talking about अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं. The अच्छे दिन campaign also was built around the poor.
And then they vanished.
So and then of course it vanished. I mean, it vanished in favor of the corporates. It vanished in favor of crony capitalism. It just vanished. And then when that did not happen, and then you kind of try to subsume everything into a religious identity.
Right.
But it really does not work that way. The way it works is that, and again, in a contrast, when Rahul Gandhi walks with the child of a laborer, or when he's kind of talking to whatever working class children, or I think he was kind of doing push-ups with some poor children. The fact is that
without offense dividing him with
yes, absolutely, and of course without offense, without an electric fence dividing. So that was quite comical. I mean, seriously, who does PR for them now? So again, very interesting. I feel that the PR thing has changed. I mean, like I said, I mean, I do communications. I understand communications. So and I see how the campaign for the BJP was in 2013 and how lackadaisical the Congress was.
Right.
I actually feel that is what has changed. You know, Congress is is on point. It's got its messaging absolutely correct. It is not touching controversial issues. It is talking to the people. And the BJP campaign is still stuck on a religious identity, and they don't have a campaign like Achhe Din, for instance, which encompasses everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming back to this point, yes, the poor are going to decide. How they are going to decide, again, we have a few months left for the elections. Will Karnataka elections have an impact? Yes, Karnataka elections will have an impact. But most importantly, we'll have to see how the states going in for elections, before 2024, how the voting happens there, what those states throw up. And then we will see what 2024. The difference between 2019 and 2024 is just that there is an alternative today, which was not there in 2019.
A lot of people say that we shouldn't think of it that way, but I feel that it's just self-defeating to not think that way, because if there is somebody who reflects a better idea of India and who has a clearer vision of what this country can be, I don't see a problem with thinking of him as an alternative. But it remains to be seen how the other configurations happen as the opposition parties figure out who is going to represent them. Let's see. Let's wait and watch. But thank you for your time. And as
Reema, I just wanted to add one more line, if I can.
Yeah, tell me.
See what you were saying, that to have an idea that who's going to be a leader who's going to lead in the 2024 elections. See, my point is that you need a person, because people don't generally rally around ideas alone. They need to see a figurehead. That figurehead can change. Like I said, and electoral politics, I mean, that is the best thing about democracy and about electoral politics, where all of us have a vote. We get to express ourselves, our what we wish from the people we are going to put in power. But so things are going to be very fluid. They're going to change. New leaders may come up, new parties may come up, so on and so forth. But the fact that the Congress has, as a prime opposition party, actually has a figurehead today is there is a person. You can put a face, to a name. You have a name, you have a face that is going to work in favor of the Congress.
There's a lot of there's a lot of cynicism about this also, because I've seen and heard a lot of experienced journalists saying that would be very wrong, because that way Mr. Modi is going to win hands down. That's their thing. That
I don't think so. I don't know.
I disagree as well.
I don't think they're reading it right.
I disagree as well, because what I feel is that this persona of this, all-powerful leader has also been built on basically nothing. That's my opinion. I may be wrong, because he has very passionate followers. But what is it built on? If you ask yourself that question, it's quite, it answers itself. So if you pit that person against somebody who has a clearer understanding of the country, its diversity, its people, who has a plan and a vision, I don't see a problem in, presenting him as an alternative. But like we said, let's wait and watch and hope for the best.
My point is not so much as Rahul Gandhi as against Modi. My point here is more specifically about, does it help the Congress to have an identifiable leader? Does it help any party to have an identifiable leader? It does. And at this moment, again, if you remember all the clean conversations that we've had, and I've always said, trust in history. History will, the moment will throw up the man. So at this moment, the man that has been thrown up, the man or the woman, the man that has been thrown up is Rahul Gandhi.
I think this whole discourse, as we have discussed many times, has also been based on nothing, actually. It's
an engineered discourse.
Yeah, it is. And very reductionist, because it reduces the whole electoral process into this versus that, and who versus, this person. And I think that's just undermines the concept of democracy as such. So, true. Interesting times. So let's see what happens.
Very, very interesting times for India. I mean, a great time to be alive in this country today.
Yeah.
You see this whole churning that is happening.
Yeah.
People coming out and expressing themselves. So very, very interesting times.
So let's see. Let's wait and watch. And maybe after the next elections, we'll chat again and go over the entire discourse once again. And thank you again for your time and for sharing your insights with me. Thank you so.
Thanks, Reema. Love being here.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Hi, this is Reema, and if you liked what you just saw, then do like and subscribe, because remember, this is a safe space for people to talk, share their stories, to hear each other, make some time in their busy lives for unboxed conversations.